Hey guys, my name's Adam, and today we're talking about the Benchmade Bailout. Alright guys, so welcome to the video review of the Benchmade Bailout. And this is what I would call a lightweight tactical folder. And it's part of the Benchmade Black class, which is their kind of tactical class intended for police, SWAT, law enforcement, and the likes like that. So let's go ahead and dive into this review. First we're going to look at the size and weight, some of its features, and then we'll pull out some of Benchmade's other knives in this size category to see how it stacks up. This knife is 4.7 inches long when closed, 1 inch in width, and 0.39 inches thick, which is a really thin knife, and we'll get into that a little bit later. The overall weight of this knife is 2.7 ounces, which is super light. I consider anything under the 3-inch category to be kind of the ultra lightweight knife category. Really any lighter than that, and it's kind of getting negligible. I wouldn't say this knife is light duty, because it's certainly not, but it is a very light knife for the capability it brings to the table. When open, the knife is 8.07 inches long. The blade length on this knife is 3.3 inches long, and 3.125 inches is the cutting length. So check with your local rules and regulations to see if this blade length is legal in your area. Now the blade material on this knife is a CPM M4, and that's a powdered steel, and M4 is kind of a high-speed tooling steel. It's not a stainless steel, which is why this knife is coated in kind of this dark gray coating to help keep it from rusting. And that's just something to be aware of. Unlike the S30Vs or S90Vs, this is not a stainless steel blade. That being said, this M4 does come with a little bit better edge retention and durability compared to the stainless version. So I think you're going to continue to see the M4 steel from Benchmade's Black Class shop because it is such a good quality steel. The blade thickness itself is 0.09 inches thick, which is relatively thin, but again, for a lightweight tactical EDC knife, that's a really nice thickness. Also, the blade geometry has a flat grind almost all the way to the spine, which means that this is going to be a very slicey knife, which is a relatively thin blade and near full flat grind. So really do like the blade shape on this knife. I also like the tanto tip that Benchmade put on this knife. It's not overly steep, so it has a nice piercing profile, but that nice flat edge there works really good as a chisel tip for prying things open or scraping things like stickers and stuff like that off of smooth surfaces. So really do dig the tanto tip on this particular blade. As for blade functionality, this blade is super snappy. Just pops right out every time, no resistance. The it just kind of falls shut. Super buttery smooth blade on this particular knife. So Benchmade did a really good job with this one. And the nice thing is it's not like it's so loose that's sloppy. It locks up super tight. There's no side to side or back and forth play. And when you close the knife, as you can see, it's nicely centered within the handle. So even though this is a super slick, smooth, buttery deployment, it's not because it's sloppy. It's a really well-made knife. Frankly, it's probably one of the best feeling knives I've seen come out of Benchmade. The handle material is aluminum coated with an OD green finish, and the aluminum is milled with kind of a soft diamond pattern. And it feels really good. It feels a little bit slippery, but it's kind of got just enough that it's not going to like slip out of your hand. So as far as like deployment, it's not going to be pulling on your pant pockets or anything like that. It's going to slip right out and be ready for immediate use. So I do really like the texture on these aluminum scales. It just feels kind of premium. And something I didn't care about the bug out is with the kind of plasticky handles. It had some give and flex, and it just felt a little bit cheap. It wasn't a cheap knife, but that's just kind of how it felt in hand. Where something like this just feels super solid and rigid. And if the aluminum scales weren't strong enough, it has a stainless steel cartridge liner in here to reinforce the pivot of the blade. So overall, super good design by Benchmade. As for the carryability of this particular knife, again, it's only 1 inch wide and 4 1/4 inches long. So relatively compact package, and it's basically a rectangle shape. So there's no large protrusions or sharp things to catch on your pants. It's just going to slip in and slip out. It does have a deep carry pocket clip, which can be put on either side of the knife, which Benchmade does with most of their knives, which I really like. And then on the back, we have kind of a spacer that has a lanyard hole and, if you look closely, a glass breaker, which is nice if you're a police officer or a first responder or something like that. You might be approaching a vehicle or something like that, and you need to get in quickly. Now, I know a lot of these first responders do carry other tools, but maybe you find yourself in a situation where you forgot the tool in the vehicle. Boom, pull your knife out, open that window up, and you're in action. And the last thing we need to talk about before comparing this knife to some of the other knives I have on the table is the axis lock. As you can see, the bar goes all the way through the frame. It can be used by righties or left-handed people, which is great because if you're a left-handed person, sometimes it's hard to find a knife that's easy to use. This knife can easily be used by either a left-handed or right-handed person. And of course, the axis lock has been around forever and is a proven and tested design. Okay, so that's the quick overview of the Benchmade Bailout. Let's go ahead and compare it to a couple other knives that you may have seen or handled in the past. So first up is the Benchmade 940. And this is one of Benchmade's most popular knives. And as you can see, it has a knife blade that is roughly comparable to the Benchmade Bailout. The handle is slightly shorter. The actual handle is probably about the same length if you don't include the glass breaker or lanyard loop on the back. Now the next knife we're going to look at is the Benchmade Bug Out, and this is the carbon fiber version, my personal favorite version. So as you can see, the Benchmade Bug Out has a blade that's almost as long as the Bailout. It's about 1/8 of an inch shorter. But the handle itself is significantly shorter, and that's actually something I really like about the Benchmade Bailout. It has a little bit larger handle to suit my larger hand size, and it just seems to fit my hand better. So if you have larger hands and you're considering the Benchmade Bug Out, I would strongly encourage you to consider the Benchmade Bailout. I think it's just going to feel a little bit better for you. So closing these knives up, we're going to compare the thickness. On the left here, we have the Benchmade Bug Out. On the right, we have the Bailout. And as you can see, invert them here, the Benchmade Bug Out and Bailout are the exact same thickness. Let's go ahead and bring in the Benchmade 940. And you can see the 940 is definitely a thicker handle than the Benchmade Bailout. And that's something I really like about the Benchmade Bailout. It has a nice thin handle. So when you carry it, you can't even feel it in there. It just kind of disappears and invisible in your pocket. And then when you need it, it slips right out, doesn't have any grabby features to the knife, and it's easy to deploy. And the last knife I want to compare the Bailout to is the Benchmade Mini Freak. And this is the carbon fiber version again. And the Mini Freak is a pretty big, quote, mini knife. The Freak is one of Benchmade's largest folding knives, and the Mini Freak is still a good sized knife. As you can see, the Benchmade Bailout's blade is a bit longer than the Mini Freak, and the handle on the Bailout is also longer than the Mini Freak. The difference is when you close them up, the Mini Freak is significantly thicker. The Mini Freak's on the left, the Benchmade Bailout's on the right. And you can see the Mini Freak almost looks like it's twice as thick. So it's just going to carry differently, and I personally like how the Bailout carried better, but if you want something that has more contour on the handle, as you can see there's kind of contour cuts and stuff here, maybe something like the Mini Freak would be the right option for you. So there you have it. That's my quick and dirty review of the Benchmade Bailout. And it's just a super smooth, premium feeling knife. Again, with the aluminum scales, everything feels super rigid. The texture is nice. And man, that blade is just so smooth on this. They just really got it right between the weight of the blade and then the extra length of the handle, just giving you that extra leverage to really get this blade snapped out there. Probably one of my favorite knives that Benchmade has come out with to date. So there you have it, the lightweight tactical folder from Benchmade's Black Series. And I think it's an excellent knife. It's going to be great for law enforcement, first responders, or just the serious EDC person who wants a really capable but lightweight and unobtrusive knife in their pocket anywhere they go. I hope this review was helpful for you, and cheers.